It's time now for The Newsmaker, in which we tackle a big story of the day in the company of a fearless commentator. Tonight, people who vandalise public spaces will have to repair the damage they cause within 48 hours of being given an order under new government plans. Communities will also have a say on how offenders are punished. The pilot scheme, covering 10 areas, aims to show the public such acts are quickly and visibly punished. The pilot forms part of a crackdown on antisocial behaviour, which the Prime Minister Rishi Sunak will announce tomorrow, as he says he hopes to end the scourge of antisocial behaviour once and for all. But will it work? Who better to ask than former Prisons Minister, best-selling author and television personality Anne Widdecombe. Hi, Anne. Anne Widdecombe. Hi, Anne.
Hello.
And what's your reaction to these latest measures to tackle antisocial behaviour with very visible punishments?
Well, they sound good, but we've had this before. We've had people having to wear tabards saying community payback and all this sort of thing. We've had it before. What really matters is that people who do indulge in antisocial behaviour, and particularly those who are doing it repeatedly and causing a misery for neighbours, that they are actually dealt with quickly. I mean, the key to what Rishi is saying here is in the word quickly. I'll believe it when it happens. I think it's a good idea. It isn't anything that we haven't had before. And frankly, everything depends on the sheer willpower of the local police.
Anne, given that you are a former Home Office minister, can you explain to my viewers and listeners why tackling this so-called low-level crime is so important?
Oh, it's important because it really does make people's lives a misery. I have seen some of those very big inner-city council estates where people are just subject to vandalism and to graffiti. They wake up in the morning, somebody's wrecked their garden. They come back at night, there's graffiti all around. And sometimes it's just loud behaviour, which is threatening, particularly if you're elderly or if you're on your own. And it makes people's lives a misery. That is why it is important to tackle it. And quite honestly, the police have never really put this very high up their agenda.
What about tougher sentences?
I wouldn't mind seeing tougher sentences, but what I'd really like to see is householders' rights being respected. I mean, if somebody goes out and challenges these thugs, and if then fisticuffs result, it's the householder who then gets prosecuted because it's an easy arrest, isn't it? It's an easy box to tick. Now, I would like to see householders given much more protection and the presumption much more with them that if there is a nuisance and there's no police about, they can go out and deal with it. Now, I'm not suggesting they go out and get into fights, but that they can go out and they can challenge, and that those people should then be dealt with instead of the householder being dealt with.
Now, Anne Widdecombe, on Monday, at the beginning of the week, you attended a press conference in which you announced your support for Reform UK at the next general election. Why?
Because I've given up wholly now with the Conservatives, largely as a result, in fact, recently entirely as a result of the betrayal of Northern Ireland. I mean, what we had was a terrible deal negotiated by Theresa May. Boris then came along with big promises about getting Brexit done. He tinkered with that deal and drew a border down the Irish Sea. We've now got Rishi tinkering with the tinkering and again pronouncing it as a great victory, when the easy fact to check is that the EU will still have power in Northern Ireland, and Stormont, despite all the talk of the Stormont break, won't be able to do a darn thing about it because that break is hedged about with too many qualifications. And even if it were successful, the EU would then be entitled to claim compensation for us. When are we going to get the understanding that leaving the EU means that the whole UK leaves the EU? We don't give it jurisdiction in one part of ourselves.
Could your support for Reform UK backfire? As a lifelong Conservative, are you not concerned that Reform UK could hand the keys of number 10 to Keir Starmer?
Well, obviously, I don't want to see Keir Starmer in number 10, but quite honestly, the Conservatives have almost certainly lost the next election anyway. And it's no good doing this. We did this before. The Brexit Party stood down against all the Conservative candidates in order to get Brexit done. Brexit hasn't been done. We've been betrayed once. We're not falling for that a second time.
But if you had to choose, would you take Sunak over Starmer?
Labour, but quite honestly, there's not much difference now. We've got a deeply red party in this country, and we've got a pale pink party in this country, and there is no truly conservative party, apart from Reform, now operating in this country.
And what can be achieved by Reform UK in the absence of proportional representation?
Oh, I think two things. First of all, I think the mere fact that we're here and that we're going to stand in every single seat in the next election, I think that itself fires an enormous warning shot across the Tory bows. Now, they know that we want certain things. We want Northern Ireland fully reintegrated into the United Kingdom. We want Brexit done. We want lower taxes. They know what we want, and they know that we will stand against them unless they do it. And therefore, I think there is that pressure. But also this, no, we haven't got proportional representation, and I don't want us to have proportional representation. But nevertheless, the one advantage of Keir Starmer is this. He doesn't frighten people. Corbyn frightened people. People were saying to me in the last election on the doorstep, Anne, we'd love to vote for you, but we're afraid of letting Corbyn in. They're not afraid of letting Starmer in, and so it is not inconceivable that they will give their votes to third parties because they're so fed up with both the major ones, and that we will, I'm not suggesting we can form a government, but that we will get seats and that we will have power in Westminster.
However, a Labour government would be far more Europhile than any Conservative government under Rishi Sunak. Don't forget, the leader of the opposition campaigned to reverse Brexit, and you can live with him in number 10?
I can't live with either of them in number 10. Don't tell me that Conservatives are more pro-Brexit than the Labour Party. The Conservatives have shown exactly what they believe in, which is they still believe in the EU. Why is Rishi Sunak pouring money into the coffers of Macron when he hasn't delivered anything in terms of stopping the boats in return for previous lots of money? Why is he actually giving the EU power in Northern Ireland? That is not Brexit. That really isn't Brexit. So don't talk to me about, the Conservatives are far more in favour of Brexit than Labour. Neither of them have a clue when it comes to Brexit.
We were slightly concerned about sound issues before the interview, but Anne Widdecombe is in full voice. Anne, I look forward to catching up in a week's time. Former Conservative government minister, Home Office minister and best-selling author and television personality, and now the jewel in the crown of Reform UK. Do you agree with Anne that Reform could make a difference at the next election? A truly, properly Conservative option? Let me know. Mark at gbnews.uk.